Legend in My Spare Time contains themes and subjects that may not be suitable for everyone listening. If you're easily offended, we suggest you get your podcast on elsewhere.
Legend in My Spare Time! Motherfucker!
Hi, this is Carl Weathers, and you're listening to Legend in My Spare Time podcast.
Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, and you're listening to the Spare Time Legends Podcast Network. Listen good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to a special edition of your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast, Legend in My Spare Time. Make sure you give us that follow on Twitter at Legend Podcast and use the hashtag LIMST, please. Now, longtime listeners will know this show started as me, a musician, sitting down with other musicians, discussing the adventures we found ourselves in, the things that happen to you when you're in a band and you're making music for a living. Well, a little while ago, my wife Rachel and I went to Cardiff to see a Blues Brothers act, and my goodness, were these boys smoking hot. Now, you'll all know I'm a longtime Blues Brothers fan and a music snob, so I go into it skeptical, this live show. But within a few seconds, these guys had me, and what a great time we had. You'll hear me in the show talk about and kind of gush a little bit how good the show was. But my goodness, I am not exaggerating. What a fun show. Check out thebluesbrothers.co.uk, and if they are anywhere near you, they are worth every penny, every moment you will spend traveling there. I got up and danced, and I do not dance. So just keep that in mind, okay, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I sat down with Chris, a.k.a. Joilet, Jake Blues. We had a great talk. We went on for like an hour and a half, I think, because we were just kind of having a good time talking music, talking blues, talking performance, both being musicians, of course. It was fantastic, and he promised to come back again soon. So check out my talk with Chris, a.k.a. Joilet Jake Blues, from the Chicago Blues Brothers, Europe's finest Blues Brothers tribute act. I don't even like using tribute act because I feel like they're too good for that. What a fantastic show. Here's my chat. Check them out, thebluesbrothers.co.uk. And oh, please don't forget, August 31st, right here in South Wales, Pontypool, Matt Lees versus Cancer, a live show, a live musical performance in aid of the Velindre Cancer Center. Every single penny we raise on that night will go to the Velindre Cancer Center, the very spot where I had my treatments and my chemotherapy, so close to my heart. Help us out if you can. justgiving.co.uk/fundraising/Matt Lees Music. That's if you can't make it, but you still maybe want to help out and throw us a couple of bucks. That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. That's August 31st, Pontypool, Matt Lees versus Cancer. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, all over the place. All right, enough out of me. Here we are, me and Chris, Jake Blues, thebluesbrothers.co.uk, touring near you soon. Check him out, and here's our chat. Very good. Thanks for agreeing to do this, man. That's really cool.
Hey, no problem at all.
Let me first get the fanboy thing out of the way. I saw your show in Cardiff. And it was fucking rad. It was very, very, very cool. I had an awesome time. I even danced, and I don't dance.
It got you that bad, did it? You actually got up and had a dance.
I actually got up and shook a tail feather.
Oh, that's brilliant. I like to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, such a great time, because you hear like tribute act, and sometimes you'll go, oh, really? But you guys, within minutes, you had me. The band was fucking rocking. You guys were great. And within a few moments, that whole tribute act of one of my favorite bands thing went away, and I was watching the Blues Brothers.
Oh, thank you very much. That's really nice.
Yeah, no problem. And the joke right away about the accents, killer. It was such a good time, man.
Yeah, you've got to get that over, mate, because the thing is, if you try and do a false accent continuously, at some point you're going to slip out of it.
Yeah.
Unless you keep it really scripted, which we don't.
Right.
So we just get that out of the way straight away. We're not American. We're English, but we'll have a go at a dodgy accent for you.
Yeah, it's such a good show. I read a little bit about you, and obviously professionally trained opera singer. Yeah, is that was what you studied? Am I right in that?
Yeah, I didn't sing opera, and I didn't practice singing opera. What I actually did was I went to a guy in York. So have you ever been to York, Matt?
No, not myself.
So York, it's obviously surrounded by a wall. It's a fortified city, and in the towers, in some of the walls, people have offices and things like that. And there's a guy in there, not sure if he's still there because it's quite a few years ago, called Michael da Costa, and he was quite famous for teaching opera singers and training opera singers, and it was something I did just to strengthen my voice. And really bring my voice on. It was never a passion.
Right.
So I used to just study it with Michael, and it sort of brought my voice on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, wonderful. And how do that's great. How do you go from that to a Blues Brothers act, which is such a cool thing to do?
Well, we sang, myself and Gareth, who plays Elwood, we sang in all kinds of different bands and tributes, and
right.
We used to sing in a Motown and soul show called The Sensations. So I've got a real love for all kinds of music, to be honest. It's not just blues.
Mm-hmm.
I love Motown, I love rock and roll, I love most things. Apart from Justin Bieber, I'm not a fan of Justin Bieber.
Oh, hey, neither am I, my friend. Especially being a Canadian musician myself, the amount of times I heard, "Can you play some Bieber?" and I want to say, "Get the hell away from the stage."
Yeah,
but
not good.
He doesn't represent me as a Canadian. So just to put it out there.
Good to hear.
Sorry, and when you do a show that's that cool, I think something that's really important is the band behind you, because you don't want when, especially blues music, but especially the Blues Brothers, you need a tight Blues Brothers band. Now the evening, especially when I saw you, these boys were tight, and one of my favorite things was they didn't play their own interpretation of these blues songs. They played the Blues Brothers songs. So when you did different songs, the guitar player on the night played Matt Guitar Murphy's solos.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry, mate.
Go ahead.
John's a John, who's our guitarist currently. He's phenomenal. And John was with us back when we first started with the band about 6 years ago. John was the guitarist then. He's only recently come back to us, but John sits in really well with the rhythm section, and he does play it as it should be played.
Yeah, and how much fun is he having? I mean, you all are, but especially John.
Yeah.
How much fun is he having on stage? It was infectious. I was having fun watching his guitar faces and how much fun and how much they're enjoying themselves.
Yeah, do you know when we first started with the show, we were rehearsing the show, and we were doing it it was like a little garage really. Mm-hmm. And John came along and he auditioned for the show, and as soon as we met him, we thought, great, he's a really cool guy, he's John. And unfortunately, the band and the show didn't quite start as quickly as we wanted it to, and he ended up leaving us to go play in a Queen tribute. So he played as Brian May for quite a few years.
Right.
But back in the day when he was a younger man, he was in a band. They had a record deal. They toured the world, and it's so good to have him back with us because he is a phenomenal player, and he's not. You can get some quite selfish guitar players. I'm sure as a musician you know that, and
oh yeah,
he can. And he does not. He's not like that at all. He's purely and utterly sits right in with the rhythm section, but he brings such an energy to the stage. It's just fab to have him back.
Yeah, he's like I compare him almost like to like a puppy when the puppy's in the little cage and he's really excited to get out, because there was a tune where you leaned over to him and you said, "Do you want to get in on this?" And he was just like he started barking, and he ran to the front of the stage and played a great solo. And then, like you sort of were alluding to there, just disappeared it back into the background and just went right back into the rhythm. And what a band. I mean, it must be really cool, but also maybe also as a fellow musician, a little bit nerve-wracking, because I'm a musician where I can play on my own. I do a lot of different things, but I can do originals. So worst case, I can pick up a guitar and I can just stand on stage and go, yep, Matt's live tonight. With this kind of a thing, you need everybody. You need everybody on point. You need everybody as passionate as you are, because I know you're sort of the to make a wrestling metaphor, you're the Vince McMahon behind the whole deal. So I feel like maybe you've got a lot more invested, but you need them to be emotionally invested too. Is that nerve-wracking to need to rely on such a big group?
Do you know something we do? There is occasions with the band where we are booking, the show is booking into 2020 already, but there is occasions where we have to, sometimes we have to put a depth saxophone player in or a depth trumpet player in or something like that.
Yeah.
That is nerve-wracking. With the current lineup and with the full lineup as it stands, it's not nerve-wracking at all because it is about having fun. I don't know anyone who couldn't have fun with this kind of show and music. So it's 2 hours of it's not even work, Matt, to be honest. It's just 2 hours of having fun.
Oh yeah, and you can tell you can definitely tell that too. And
that's the same wherever we play, whether it's with 50 people or the biggest audience we've played to. We played an arena show in Poland and we did about 8,000 people. It's exactly the same. Everyone whether it's 50 people or 7,000, 8,000 people, they get the same energy and they get the same level of commitment from us.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, it sounds like we're shilling now, but I'm being genuinely honest when I say how much fun the show was.
I really appreciate that.
And obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't mention, obviously, the very recent passing of Matt Guitar Murphy. And I don't mind telling you, when my wife showed me that story in bed, I shed a tear because I've spent a lot of time listening to the Blues Brothers music and Matt Guitar Murphy, and that was a really, really hard one for me. As I get older, I'm losing a lot more of my heroes. Matt Guitar Murphy hit me in the gut, and it must have you too.
It didn't, and to be fair to the guy, he has had a good life and a good innings, and when you read the little stories that people have posted about him, he was a very fun-loving, strong guy right till the end. I mean, he had a stroke in the early 2000s, and it stopped him from playing as regularly as he'd probably liked to have done.
Mm-hmm.
But he still played a little bit, and he still got involved. But I think for a guitar player, he led an extraordinary life. I'm quite surprised though that he's not as well known as you would, unless you're as part of that circle and into that type of music. He's not as well known as you probably would have hoped he would be.
No, and you can tell that from the way the world works today, as social media wasn't as explosive as you would think it would be, or that he would deserve. No. Some people even at my work even said to me, "Well, who's that?" And I thought, "Oh, you sad man. Don't ask questions like that. You go away and Google that on your own. Don't embarrass yourself and ask me who Matt Guitar Murphy is." Yeah,
an absolute legend in our world.
Absolutely. Is it ever restrictive? Because obviously it is a Blues Brothers act. So, well, it isn't really. I'm answering my own question because you also tend to lean into Motown and other things. So maybe you aren't restricted by the limited Blues Brothers catalog.
No. And did you know when we first started with the show, Matt? When we first put the show out there, it was sort of a definitive show, and we did some of the album tracks and some of the obscure tracks, tracks like Expressway to Your Heart, Groove Me Baby, things like that. And in Theatreland and in the venues that we play, it was just falling on deaf ears. People did not know the music, and you got no response to it. So we felt about 4 years ago that we needed to make the show more audience friendly. To be fair, because I've seen over the years so many good Blues Brothers shows just go to the wall because they're just churning out the same show year in, year out, and people stop buying tickets. Yeah. Now you've got to remember that the Blues Brothers are a cover band. That's what they were. They were a cover band. They did everybody else's music.
Yes, right.
So we're actually a cover band of a cover band. So we don't, in real terms, we don't have any restrictions. If you're into guitars, we put a load of Joe Bonamassa stuff in this tour. So Going Down's a Bonamassa track, or it's his interpretation of it. Boogie Woogie Woman, that was a Bonamassa. Old Time Religion. So we do bring other things into the show just to make it more. People just want to be entertained in the theatres. They just want to have a good time, and that's why we stray off the Blues Brothers path. Because I think, as good as some of the catalogue stuff is, I don't think the hardcore following is quite there anymore. I don't think it's as strong as it maybe was 10 years ago. And I think what people want to walk away with is a feeling of fun and that we've been entertained. We've heard some great music, played well, had fun.
Yeah.
So the next tour we do, we've only got 6 more shows, I think, on the Back in Black tour, and then we take a break in August, and then we come back, and the next show is the Motown Mission. And the theory behind the show is that we're taking the Blues Brothers to Detroit, and we're going to tackle some of the big Motown songs, but we're going to obviously keep in all the great Blues Brothers songs as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it's good in as much as these are songs you could see Jake and Elwood picking. It's not like you're up there doing songs where people are saying, somebody like it who is a hardcore like me would sit there and go, Elwood wouldn't sing this song, man. There is none of that. It all feels very smooth and as if this is a set that these guys would be playing. Yeah.
It's really strange, mate, because we had another American guy came to see us in Greenock in Scotland, and he was actually. He claims he was actually in the audience for Saturday Night Live when the Blues Brothers, were first introduced. Because of anybody who knows that Aykroyd and Belushi, the Blues Brothers was a piss take. It was just a bit of fun, but it got such a reaction that it just spiraled. Now this guy again, he loved what we did and he loved how we did it. And when you get that sort of from fans and you get that sort of feedback from fans, it just makes it really worthwhile doing. Yeah,
I mean, I looked at the upcoming tour dates for the Motown Mission, and I'm hoping I see Cardiff on there soon, sir. There needs to be a Cardiff date.
Cardiff will come back on. They're really funny, some of these venues. Some venues you play every 12 months. Yeah. Some venues it's every 18 months. But we only run a tour for... The maximum we run a tour is 18 months. Sometimes it's only 12. So I would think a return date for Cardiff will appear. Excellent. If not, Bristol is already in the diary, which is not a million miles away.
All right. And when's Bristol?
Bristol's not gone on sale yet. I think it was somewhere in the middle of next year, but
all right.
It's not actually on sale. So what you see on the website is not. There's about 70 dates for the Motown Mission that are there, but they're not all on sale. So they only appear on the website once you can buy a ticket for it.
Yeah, well, stay tuned for that, definitely. But I will definitely be driving to Bristol for a show. When I came to the Cardiff one, we were sitting waiting, and I'd spent the whole day. I finished work early on Friday, luckily. I spent the whole day listening to the Blues Brothers records, of course. My wife and I are sitting outside having a drink, and I see people starting to come inside in costume, dressed up like the Blues Brothers. And my immediate thought was, wow, why didn't I dress up, man? Because I'm a nerd, too. I host panels at, Comic-Cons and things like that, and I do events at those things. And I always go to those things thinking, I should have dressed up. But then this one would have been perfect. I would have been comfortable in the outfit. I would have looked suave as heck like everybody else. And I just didn't think of it. It must be so cool to see people dressing up like you guys, which is obviously the hardcores who are really into it.
Oh, it's amazing, but again, it's not always the hardcores. We've done a thing this year where we're just trying to introduce. I don't think it's fair that children pay the same price as adults. So I've been fighting as producer of the show to get a reduced ticket price for children under 14, just so they can come and sort of experience not only theatre or a concert hall, but a reasonably big band and a good show. Yeah. So we've called them the mini moochers. So in a lot of the venues that we've got going on sale for the Motown Mission, the mini moocher price is £10. So we're really trying, because we get kids from 5 and 6 year olds up to 80-year-old people. It's such a mixed audience, and again across that audience. We get people coming as nuns. We get people coming as the Reverend. We get coming as the Blues Brothers. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's. I don't know if you're into wrestling, WWF style. There's a term they use called a mark, which is maybe somebody who's a little bit too excited, maybe kind of falls for the whole plot of wrestling, as it were. And they call them mark-out moments. And I had one with your show in Cardiff again when you came out as the Reverend, and you were talking about, and I saw an unbelievable light or whatever it was, and I would never do this. I'm a musician. I know how to show respect, and I shouted out, "What, brother?" Because in the movie he repeats himself, and I want
Yeah, I'm really pleased though that that's coming out for the next show, and I'm so happy that I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I bet. That's a tough costume change, is it, or is it just?
It's not a tough costume change. I just think it's very close to the mark. White guy pretending to be a reverend, and some people, and at the end of the day, it's a bit of fun. It's from the film, and there's no malice intended in it whatsoever. But some people, most people are absolutely fine with it. They understand it's something that Aykroyd and Belushi would do, and it's a bit of fun. But you do get the odd person. So for me, I just think next year I'm going to have a break from doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the other one is obviously when Elwood dresses up and does Minnie the Moocher, which is such a fun song. I actually do it in my own cover sets. Because I'm always afraid of doing covers that every other jerk in the pub does. So I like to cover things like Minnie the Moocher and have people look at me going, is he singing Minnie the Moocher right now? But what a great version. And again, another sing-along song. So you guys are really good at picking the ones that get the crowd to sing along to yourselves. You mentioned there that you'll be glad that the Reverend bit is gone. Is there one that Elwood isn't so fond of that he's going to be glad is?
No, he's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine. Yeah, I mean, Elwood's he's a massive sort of soul and Motown fan. He's Elwood, and we, in the new show we've got a little. We're going to do You've seen the show, you know that we put loads of little surprises in it. And did you pick up on the Cantina song from Star Wars in Ghost Riders?
Oh, don't you worry, I didn't miss that at all, baby.
Yeah, so there's loads. We put loads of little things into the show to make it different. So in the new show, in the second half, we're gonna have a bit of a dance off where Elwood's gonna basically do the start of Michael Jackson's Billie Jean.
Amazing.
And then we're gonna go into I Want You Back. Just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna try and mix Flip Flop and Fly in with Blame It on the Boogie. So, and do a medley of that. So
amazing.
That should be good.
Yeah.
Because he's quite a good mover, he's Elwood. So he'll relish the chance. But again, just we're bringing back. We did a tour a few years ago called the Jailbreak tour, where we had songs like There's a Riot Going On, Cell Block Number 9. That was in there. So we're gonna start the second set as if we're in a jail. So Jailhouse Rock will probably open the second set.
Mm-hmm.
Just mix it up a little bit and change it around a little bit. And there's probably about 12 new songs going in there that will be, some of them will only be a couple of minutes long. There'll be snippets of things, but it's a big deal for us this next tour, because again, it's never been done before. People have stuck rigidly to the blues format, and unfortunately some people have done it very badly, and it sort of makes a mockery of the good shows that are out there and the good bands that are out there doing it. So it's a real challenge the next tour.
Yeah, I mean, and it is tough that way, isn't it? To remain different. And you're so right when you say some people make a mocker of it. One of the very reasons that I try to stay away from generic covers in my own sets is for that very reason. When I was playing in Canada many years ago, if I was ever going to hear Wonderwall again, I was going to rip my ears off, so I didn't have to ever hear it again. So I would switch things up, and instead of covering Wonderwall, I would cover Girls Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper, just to do something different and to stay away from people going, I know what song he's going to do next.
Correct.
And I loved your medleys, too, because I do the same kind of thing where I'll medley, say, an original, but I'll switch between Tiffany, I Think We're Alone Now, and Just a Small Town Girl,
Yeah.
And just to dance around, and I do another cheesy section where I basically talk about how there's no original songs, and I'll spend a few minutes in a four bar structure. and I'll just jump around all different songs and different styles just for a little bit of fun. And it's when it's done well, which you guys do, it is so much fun. And I mentioned you guys play stuff that Jake and Elwood would do, but you guys could drop into anything during that set and it wouldn't feel unnatural. I feel like it works in very, very well. You could drop in Beyonce if you know what I mean,
Yeah.
And it would sort of fit for that moment, because you could see Jake and Elwood doing that too.
Well, it's like when we do "Do You Love Me?" I mean, I went to see the stage musical of the Full Monty, which I'm from Yorkshire. I'm from the area where the Full Monty film was made. I'm from that region, and I went to see the musical when it was touring the theatres, and throughout the whole show, even though it wasn't a male stripper show, when any of the iconic songs came on from the film, like Hot Stuff, the women in the crowd went mad. Mm-hmm. So the song "Do You Love Me" is about a guy whose wife left him because he can't dance, and now he's back, and da-da-da-da-da. So I said to the guys, we need to do the start of "Leave Your Hat On" in there, and we'll try it and see what reaction we get from the crowd. As soon as it kicks in, da-da-da-da-da-da, and we get the same reaction every venue. They go, the women go mad. We're not going to take his clothes off. They must know that. But it's just that element of, this is something different. This is a different show. This is not what we've seen or heard before. It's a different tangent.
Yeah, which is so important. If you want to quote unquote make a living and keep doing it, you need that difference, because you don't want anyone to think Chicago Blues Brothers, yeah, I saw them last July. Yeah, they were great. But now that people know that the show continually changes, the reaction would be, well, we definitely need to see them when they come back.
Yeah, we did a Christmas show this year. So we did a Christmas show. We did the O2 in London. That was one of the venues, and we absolutely. We put, I think, about 10 Christmas songs in, but we put our own steer on them. We nicked some arrangements from Brian Setzler, some of his arrangements, and just tailor made them. We do, and we had a phenomenal set of shows with that. We did our hometown, and when we did our hometown, we bought a load of blow up guitars, a load of saxophones, a load of Christmas hats. We bought a load of fake snowballs, which were basically really lightweight polystyrene, and about 15 rows up the venue, we put hats on there. We put guitars and snowball, and we just had one big party. It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. But again, it was a Blues Brothers show done in a Christmas party style. I think there was about 1,300 people in that night, and it was a riot.
Yeah, I mean, I get a fanboying, but I genuinely had so much fun at the show that I don't know how to tell people and listeners that you have to go and see it. Like, you don't even, like we've been saying, you don't have to be a big Blues Brothers mark like I am, but it helps. But it's just so much fun. And it also runs like clockwork, which as a musician, people probably don't notice that kind of stuff, but I notice a lot of those things when I see bands. As an example, maybe you do remember, I know you do a lot of shows you may not remember. Beginning of Cardiff, I believe it was your mic didn't come on at first.
Correct.
And it was clockwork. I mean, as soon as it was your turn to go, Elwood hands over the mic, you do your part, now you need another mic, you hand it back, and one of the lovely ladies behind you hands you her mic. For somebody not a musician, they would not have even noticed. But of course, I love that stuff. I love watching your sound guy run around trying to get this mic working.
Do you know what that was?
What was that?
He'd not changed the batteries in the mic.
Oh.
So as we waiting to go on, the sound engineer can talk. I don't wear in-ears. I use a monitor because I don't like in-ears.
Right.
But he's talking to Gareth, who plays Elwood, through the in-ears, and saying, "Tell Chris to turn his mic on. It's not on."
Right.
So straight, because he wasn't getting a signal for it. But it's just such a basic thing that, I think it was just because a couple of people were late for Cardiff. The traffic was horrendous. So the sound check was quite quick. And, I think it just off his tick list. But, I walked out, knew the mic wasn't going to be on, pressed it to be on, and realised it was on, and there was nothing through it. But you do, it's live, so you do get that, you do get things like that, and I suppose it's how you handle them at the time.
Yeah. They always say there's no mistakes when it's live. You just
Correct.
You just got to flow with it. You just got to run the show.
Yeah.
I studied radio broadcasting, and I was a sound engineer for radio stations. And
Right.
I feel for your sound guy, man, because it's not I can feel his pain when I've given a mic to somebody. They've gone on stage in front of a crowd, and it's like the mayor of a city. And I look and I go, "Oh, I didn't change the battery." And then he does the whole, "Good evening, ladies and good evening, good evening." And you're there going, "I have to walk out there and take the mic off of him now, and all my buddies are gonna think you prat."
Yeah, I mean, we normally put a line mic in front of the centre fill, so there's always normally a spare line mic in front of the centre fill, just in case anything like that happens. And even that wasn't there, so it was like a double edged whammy there. But we just get through it.
Yeah.
Like you say, most people don't notice it, or you just get through it and you just crack on. No matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
You just go.
If you were recording that as a live CD or live album, just showed my age by saying CD. If you were recording that as a live album, you wouldn't have even noticed, which was great.
No, it was a good show, Cardiff. It was a big deal for us because we wanted to play the St David's Hall for a number of years, so it was a big deal. The only slight downside to it is we couldn't put the full setup just because the lighting rig is all one grid, so
right.
Either it all comes down or it all goes up. So we couldn't put the full set and all the legs and all the dress. We couldn't dress the stage the way that we normally do. But I don't think, unless you've seen the show before, nobody would know that, because there's certain venues we come in where we can't use projection, and we literally end up with lighting and a black cloth. But you work with what you've got at the end of the day. That's what the business is all about.
Yeah, I mean, you just I've played bars, I've played gigs where we're in the middle of Johnny Be Good, my guitar player stops playing his solo, and I turn around to see what he's doing behind me, and it's because he's engaging in a fight with a bar patron. That's the kind of bars I used to play at. So this is one of those visuals, and I'm like, Jay, what are you doing, man? And he's like, well, he came at me, so I had to get him off me. And I was like, during Johnny, there's no better moment for you to do that. You could do that during any other song, and they may not notice. But in the middle of Johnny Be Good, and you drop out on me, but that's just the kind of stuff that is just so much fun.
That sounds like a scene from the Blues Brothers.
It does, doesn't it? Why is the guitar stopped?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, because he's in a fight. Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we played Dubai a few years ago, and we only do maximum, and we don't like doing them, but maximum we'll do 4 shows a week. We like to do 2 or 3, just because it takes that much out of you doing the show, that once you start, if some of these productions, they did a summer special in London last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was running for 8 shows a week for God knows how many weeks. But there's no way you can put the energy and the effort and the passion into 8 shows a week. You've got to, something's got to give, something's got to dumb down. And again, some of these shows use click track, some of them have got vocal on track just in case, harmonies on track. We just keep it 100% live. So, we do 2 or 3 a week. Any more than 3 starts to take its toll on the old vocal cords.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like a box, singing the stuff we sing. It's for myself, it's like a boxing match sometimes. It's really, really tough. It's not my natural singing voice, so it's quite tough sometimes.
Yeah, it's not like a singer-songwriter like myself, sort of just standing there with an acoustic. I mean, you guys are working. You guys are performing. You're not just singing. So it's hard work, but it's great. I mean, it's also fun because when I moved back, I was born in the UK, South Wales. I moved to Canada when I was very young, and I moved back a few years ago. That's my history. But anyway, the reason for that is when I played shows and events in Canada, it was always singer-songwriters or bands, live bands, instruments, musicians, singer-songwriters. And then I started over here with an agent, and I started playing gigs, and I found I was the only guy with a guitar, and everybody else was singing with backing tracks and karaoke versions. And it fucking broke my heart, pardon my language, but it broke my heart because I was like, No. Why don't you get some people in here with guitars and like, what are these? But people loved it, and it really, really crushed me to the point that I stopped playing for a while. I stopped playing.
The shows out there now. The shows out there now that are doing theatres and putting a lot of bums on seats, you know, and there is no musicians on stage. It's all backing, and I mean, one of the shows, the Little Mix tribute show seem to be doing really well at the minute, but there's no band. It's just pure backing tracks and four female vocalists, and it's selling a lot of tickets. And it for us, it is a little bit disheartening, because you think, we don't skimp on the horn section, we don't skimp on anything in relation to our show, but you know, other people are filling theatres with backing tracks, and you know, it's just, you know, maybe it's just that genre of music, and it's full of kids, I don't know, but we don't use any click tracks. We don't use anything to enhance the sound. You know, if you can hear it, it's being played live.
And by the way, who the heck are Little Mix to have a tribute act?
They've got about 3.
Oh, see that? I'm not even I'm a musician. I'm not a professional one, but that breaks my heart to think that I work in a factory when the Little Mix have a tribute act, no less 3 of them.
Yeah. There's even a Spice Girls one. I think the Spice Girls one does have a couple of band members on stage, but I think the majority of the music is click track. So, you know, some of the big shows. I mean, one of my favorite places in the world is Vegas, and you know, I've been to Vegas quite a few times, and some of the shows there, you can see some of the vocals are all mimed. They're being mimed. A lot of the music's click track, and you know, I suppose if you're doing, like I said earlier, if you're doing 6 or 7 shows a week, you know, you cannot guarantee the same level of quality every show. So, you know, a band out there called Human Nature, who do an Australian show, and they do like a Motown show out there, but you know, a lot of their harmonies and they did Just My Imagination, and the whole song vocally was mimed. There wasn't a note sung, and I know because I was sat right at the front, right in front of them, and you know, when you're a singer yourself, you can tell straight away when something's not. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I thought I understand why they do it, and I get why they do it, but you feel a little bit cheated, don't you? When you've paid your ticket, you want the quality.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, like you said, my story about you guys with the mic, unless you're in that business or you're a musician, you're probably not going to really notice that stuff. But my view on that is, if you're going to use backing tracks and backing vocals, then don't bother doing the song. You know, especially vocals.
Yeah, I'd rather hear, and I've said this all my life singing, I'd rather hear a slightly dodgy vocal or the odd bum note or the odd crack. I'd rather hear that than watch somebody miming.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely. I mean, John Belushi wasn't a perfect singer. If you listen to some of their live stuff, he misses some notes, but that's part of what I like about it. It's that beauty of that. I love, like you were saying, scratchy vocals where they just don't quite hit the note. That's real to me, not this Britney Spears fixed stuff. And it's again me getting old and being an old man. My regular listeners will know I'm an old man already, but it's not. I'd rather hear, like you said, imperfection than whatever the heck the rest of them are listening to.
Yeah, you know, everything's forgivable. Everything's forgivable, and when it's live, and you know, it takes a lot of balls to get up there and do what we all do. Whether it's, you know, to be fair, I think what you do, if you're doing smaller venues and small pubs, and like you said, you know, guitarists fighting with pub goers, I think they are the toughest shows to do. And you know, going back many years, that's how I never sang in pubs, but I did the clubs and the club scene, and you know, tough crowds. And I think that's where you learn your craft. You know, you learn your craft in those venues, and you know, it's not perfect. It is not perfect, and there will be mistakes, and there will be missed words, and you know, cracked notes, and but that's been part of a live band and a big live show. There will always be a mistake now and again, but it's just life.
Yeah, it's fun. It's those stories you'll never forget. The same venue I mentioned to you was called the Circus Room. Sounds classy. It's got clowns painted on the wall. It was run by sort of mafia type guys. It was a classy venue. But if you hosted their open mic, they'd give you a $50 bar tab. So as young musicians, we were like, I'll play here twice a week, baby. It's fine. I don't care if I might get shot. I can get really drunk and we can play music.
See, that's sounding more and more like Blues Brothers again.
Yeah, it is. You know, I never really thought of it that way, but you're so right. It was just one of those venues. This is going to sound exactly like Blues Brothers now that I think it through. There was a specific night where some gentlemen in suits were sitting at the back at a small table, and we had made it a point, kind of like you were saying, when you're playing those venues and you want to craft you want to, you want to hone your skills. Well, our thing was, these people aren't listening to us, so we're obviously not good enough to make them listen to us. So let's be so good that they can't not listen to us. I'm not saying we ever got to that point, but we sure tried. So that's why we did songs like Johnny Be Good, and my buddy Jay would rip the guitar solo because we wanted those heads to look up from their phones, look up from their beer, and watch him rip the guitar.
Yeah, so that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and we thought we were having an amazing set. These gentlemen at the back in suits, about 5 of them. One of them walks up to the stage, and I'm literally in the middle of singing a song, and he stands right in front of me. So I sometimes have a bit of an attitude problem. So I lean over and say, "Can I help you, man? Like, are you serious?" And he says to me, "He wants you should play something slower." And I was like, "Who wants what?" And he's like, "He wants you should play something a little slower. He doesn't like the rock music." And they're sort of talking about a guy sitting at the back of the bar watching us at this circus room.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And it's just one of those spots. And it was shut down. And let me, you're a musician. You've toured. You've been through things like that. Try to take an educated guess as why this bar was closed down. Any guess?
Yeah.
Take a guess.
Go on. Drugs.
No. Well, there was
money laundering.
There was a bartender who used to do lines off the table. Before I was smart enough to know what he was doing, and I would just see him sort of like slide his face across the table, and I was like, what is he doing, man? And of course, eventually realized exactly what he was doing. No, the bar was closed down when a gentleman was murdered from being thrown off the roof.
Really? Oh, nice.
And now listeners can Google circus room death, and you'll find the article. That's the piece of crap bar I used to play in.
You need to write a book, mate.
Yeah, but sadly it ends. There aren't very many more stories than that because.
Do you know when it all ends for us? We're going to write a book. We have got some stories that are just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
From when we've been in Poland and Norway and various shows around the UK. Some of the things we've done and you couldn't write some of it. So. We're gonna once we come to an end with it, we're not on the road anymore. We're gonna write a book. We've got plenty for it already.
Oh, I bet you have. Yeah. My pitch to you for that is you guys both keep podcasting with me, and then you'll have all these tapes with all these road stories, and that'll be good reference for you to go back to later. Just saying.
Absolutely.
I'm just putting it out there, because the original concept, this podcast is called Legend in My Spare Time, and the original concept was me and my musician friends sitting around sharing stories about the crazy stuff that was happening to us on the road. So it's perfect. Yeah. You fit right in.
Brilliant. No, I'm happy to do it anytime.
Cool. Awesome. That's wonderful. Now, you may not want to answer this, but I'm going to ask it being a musician. The other day on the Chicago Blues Brothers Facebook, there was something like, "Hey, thanks to a great crowd, except for that one dickhead." Is there something you want to tell me about that? Is there a story there?
Yeah, we played a little town called Corby, and Corby is it's probably not far from Peterborough, so it's in the Midlands somewhere. That part of the world, and it's one of those audiences that if they like you, they tell you. If they don't like you, they tell you. But they're very rowdy. For a theatre crowd, they're very rowdy. Mm-hmm. And during the first spot, we just had one guy that was just, there's a few stories in the show, and there's a few links into songs, and there's a few gags, and he just every time I was trying to talk, he was shouting something out. And then when I did the reverent bit, I told him to shut his mouth, and the crowd went mad. It got probably the biggest cheer of the night. So I said, "There's always one dickhead who spoils it for everybody." And again, the crowd went mad, and he carried on shouting out. And I said, "Look, mate, you shouldn't drink on an empty head. This is what happens." And anyway. So when I carried on with doing Reverend Brown, and when I said, if you came here tonight to have a good time, let me hear you say yeah. All the crowd went, yeah. If you came here tonight to dance and sing and party with the Chicago Blues Brothers, let me hear you say yeah. And they all went, yeah. And if you think that guy's a dickhead, let me hear you say yeah. And that got the biggest yet of the night.
Amazing.
And he never says another word all night. He kept his gob shut all night then.
Well, no, of course not. You have the ultimate weapon, which is the microphone,
That's it.
You have the advantage of playing in theaters where there's probably security. So, you're John, your guitar player, isn't going to be in a fight with someone on the stage. So you sort of have that little bit where you can get away with that stuff.
Yeah, do you know something? To be fair, in the venues we play, it is a very, very rare occurrence that you have to sort of deal with somebody like that. It just doesn't happen. I think that's the second time. That's the second time ever where we've had to deal with somebody in that manner. And the last one, it was probably 4 years ago, where somebody was shouting at some of to the backing singers, "Get your tits out" and stuff. Oh. And then that clearly not acceptable. So he got hiked straight out. And the good thing is he got hiked out, and he'd spent about 50 quid on merch as well. When he come in, he'd bought a tour jacket and a CD so he totally wasted his money. But you just don't behave like that in the theatre.
No.
Stuff like that's unacceptable. Join in, shout out, have a bit of fun, great. But get your tits out for the lads is just a bit too far.
Oh, it is. It's. I used to when I worked in Canada in pro wrestling, I'd be like a referee or a ring announcer, depending on who didn't show up for work that day was usually how it would happen. They used to make me referee with absolutely no idea on how to referee a pro wrestling match, but that was irrelevant because the show must go on, as I'm sure you know. But all the time with the female wrestlers, it would be the same thing. Show us your tits. And it's just the difference being at wrestling shows, a lot of the girls I knew would just get out of the ring and open hand slap a man in the mouth.
Well, they deserve it.
Yeah, of course they do. I mean, I don't think your girls could get away with that as much as the crowd would love it. But when it's a wrestler, she can just walk up to him and just backhand him. You know, the amount of times you get things like that. I remember we interrupted. There was we were talking about tribute acts before. We used to do every Canada Day. We used to do the Canada Day festival where we would set up a wrestling ring in the middle and all people would just surround us and watch these wrestling matches.
Yeah.
Well, this one year they'd set up a big stage at the back and Justin Bieber was playing. Not the Justin Bieber, of course, a tribute act. And we think, forget it. There's no way. We probably got 500 to 1,000 people crowded around us watching the wrestling. Great. Fantastic. All of a sudden, some dick on the other stage says, Justin Bieber in 15 minutes. And the crowd just runs and leaves us. And they're all now piling up for this tribute act. So I start shilling, being the circus performer, I guess, of the ring announcer, and getting the crowd back. I start giving away T-shirts and hats to draw the crowd back to us. We turn our music up louder to draw the crowd back to us. And I start getting a dude in a suit coming over saying, the tribute act wants you to turn the music down. You're going to drown out their sound. And at first I was like, no. And no. And I kept saying no to them because I was like, with respect, F your Justin Bieber tribute act. I got dudes out here wrestling, taking risks. It's a tribute. No, absolutely. And I eventually got told to turn the mics down. But I tried to be a rebel.
We're picking on Justin Bieber a bit today, aren't we? We are picking on him a little bit.
Yeah, but
he deserves it.
I was just going to say, he deserves it.
Do you remember when it went through? We went through a period where we lost a lot of great artists. Bowie, Prince, George Michael, and I can remember reading something on Facebook where it says more sad news in the music world today as Justin Bieber has been found alive in his apartment. Yeah. Now that is a bit cruel, but it did bring a smile to my face, to be honest. Yeah,
and I mean, for me, I when I lived in Canada, not that I ever knew him or crossed paths with him, but he lived about a 40-minute drive away. So of course, once it became huge, it was everywhere. Justin, play it. It used to be play Freebird was my thing that would make me angry the most. Play Freebird. But then it became, do you know any Justin Bieber? No. Nor will I learn any Justin Bieber. It's heartbreaking.
We give him a hard time. we've given him a hard time, but I wouldn't mind being a pound behind him in his bank account.
Yeah, I was just thinking he's got more money now than I will ever have, no matter what I ever do. So I guess joke's on me.
And me.
Yeah,
and me.
joke's on us. But, I need to respect myself after I perform. My wife says I'm a diva, but I need to respect myself, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
Of course. Absolutely.
I can't do...
So are you still singing in the UK then, Matt?
Yeah, so not to go on a downer, but I had cancer last year. So I had surgery and I had chemotherapy for quite a few months. So I've been out of the game for quite some time. Publicly anyway. I still play at home. I've got the studio set up and everything like that. But with the agencies that I was working with over here, the gigs dried up because they wanted me to put on a suit and sing to a karaoke track. And I was like, I don't want to drive 2 hours to make 120 quid to sing to a karaoke song, none of which I want to do. I want to play a set. I want to be able to throw in a Blues Brothers song or a weird cover of Beyonce that I figured out, So recently, I'm playing at the end of August. I'm doing a show here that I'm organizing myself where I'm giving all the proceeds to the Valindra Hospital, and that's where I had all my treatments. So I'm giving them every penny that I make. So that show, I'm glad I've got like a slow build-up so I can really put my heart into it and do something I'm really proud of.
If you just remind me a little bit nearer the time, and I'll donate something to that from the band, a Blu-ray film or a DVD or something.
Oh, great! That's great.
Yeah, no problem. Years ago, we're talking about karaoke and backing tracks now. Years ago, in the world of music, clubland and pubs and clubs, they were thriving places where a lot of bands would go and play, and people would be there to listen to the band, and everything else would be, a side show, and it was there for the music. And over the years, the acts that actually do it, because believe it or not, the girls that we work with, they both do other things. They have to do. The musicians do other things. And one of the girls, she has to do the clubs, and when she's not working with the Blues Brothers, she'll go and do a club. And they're just an interruption to the bingo.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad. The good venues and the good clubs are so few and far between now. But this is why they don't pay a lot of money, like you say, 120, 150 quid. You can't take a band out for that. So,
definitely not.
There is some really, really cracking backing tracks out there, and a lot of people make a decent living out of doing it. And I was one of those people at one point in my career, and you've got to sort of sing through your teeth and just get on with it, when people are not listening to you. And it's even worse now with the mobile phones. It's even, you are definitely an interruption to everything.
Yeah, you're just a jukebox, and they don't know why you're not playing their favorite song. They don't care or think about the fact that you're actually a person with a craft, who's a professional, who has spent a lot of their life doing, learning this to be good at it, and you're more worried about watching why the TV got turned down when the football was on.
Gareth, who played Elwood, he used to do a solo act, and he worked like you. He worked through the week like I did. He had a full-time job, and then on the weekend he'd go out and he'd do a couple of gigs. And he said he got so fed up of doing the gigs. He says, I knew when it was time to stop, when somebody said to me, it was the end of the night, that he'd finished, just about to start packing his gear up, and somebody come up to him and asked him, they said, how about a bit of status quo? And he said, how about fuck off? And that was it. And that was it. He said, that was it. I knew it's time to pack in. I've had enough.
Yeah. I've gotten quite a few bands fired from various gigs for having an attitude like that. I can remember one where they hired us to open for karaoke.
Really?
And so we're playing our 45-minute set, and I'm like you. Let's be professional. You want me to start at 9 p.m.? Yes, sir. I will start at 9 p.m. and I'll play for 45 minutes. So we're playing. It gets to like 9:20, and I'm getting the hands across the throat gesture from the bartender. And one of the other guys in the band, this was when I joined their band, which I learned then I should never do. he's saying, oh, the guys want us to stop. And I'm like, yo, we set up a 45-minute set. And to be selfish, we had a section of the set where I would sing a couple of songs, and we hadn't gotten there yet. So I was like, I just played backup for these crappy tunes we have to do to get these people to listen. I want to do my stuff too. Oh, no, they want us, the bartenders now come to the stage. They want to start the karaoke early.
It's madness, isn't it?
And I'm just like, what? Like, okay, no. We're playing until 9:45. That's what the deal says. Fine. Of course, we played till 9:45, and of course, we were never invited back. I feel bad about it now looking back because I cost my buddies probably $50 a week at the time, which for us was a lot of money at the time, touring and playing various bars in your local town every day, you know?
It's the music business and the music world. It's a tough business, and I take my hat off to anybody who goes out there and tries to make a living out of it, plays an instrument, works the bollocks off, and does a really, you don't see, nobody goes to work to do a bad job, whether you work in a factory, supermarket, or whether you're a singer or a musician. And I think if you've got the balls to get up there in front of people and say, look, here I am, I'm going to do something for you. You'll like it or you won't like it. I take my hat off to them, and I always, wherever I go with my family, and we, a holiday or whatever, I always applaud and encourage whoever's up there singing, because it takes a lot of guts. It's not an easy thing to do.
No, and it's another thing we've mentioned it a few times now that you wouldn't understand unless you do it yourself.
No.
And for myself, especially with like an original material, it took a long time, 20 years ago or so, for me to get the balls to go up there and sing songs that I had written, because you're exposing yourself so
big
much.
Time.
It's just such an awkward and emotional thing. I mean, when I was younger, I've had times where I've cried on stage, getting emotional, singing a certain song that hits me a certain way, and then you realize you're in front of a crowd and you're like, oh, I'm such a dick. But in a lot of cases, in a lot of cases, you'll find that emotion transfers, and you'll
absolutely.
leave the stage, you'll get a couple of hugs and a couple of cuddles and that kind of thing.
Gareth cried last year. When I say Gareth Selwood, he cried last year. He had a really emotional moment when his pants ripped on stage,
right,
and his arse was hanging out,
right.
So that was quite emotional for him. Quite funny for everybody else.
Yeah.
But, luckily, he had some black boxer shorts on. So
thank goodness.
And
how long ago was that? Is he over it yet?
That was last year.
Is he still a bit sore about it?
No, he's not. He just, luckily, you carry two of everything, from your hat to your trousers to your shirts to your ties. You take two of everything just in case. I live sort of, North Yorkshire. I drove to Weymouth a couple of years ago and I'd forgot my suit. You know what I mean? And it happens. So now there's one packed and underneath my car seat, just in case.
Yeah, which is the best way to do it, because the show must go on, and you can't come out there in like jeans and a t-shirt. It's just
correct.
Because a big selling point for me was, Elwood, when you guys come out, he has the briefcase, you're spinning the key. That's such a small element for a non-Blues Brothers fan. For, again, a mark like me, though, that's such a big moment, because you're like, that's exactly how they come out on stage.
That's it.
And it's such a little thing. And I bet my wife didn't notice it, but I sure did.
Well, if you just going back to like original music, the blonde girl that sings with us, Deanne, she's got her own band called Dexiter. So if you're into original stuff, it's more country music, but it's all original stuff. Now, Deanne's only been with us this year. She joined us at the start of this year, but keep an eye on that. Make a note of that, Dexter, because the music is phenomenal, and they've got an absolutely brilliant songwriter on board with them at the minute. And I think out of anybody I've worked with, I think if anyone's going to make it big, they will make it big, and she will make it big, because she's got a really great country style and country voice. So just keep an eye, have a look at that, look that up, Dexter, and just keep an eye on that, because that one will be a really good one. We've got an old sax player who's just he's been playing with a guy, a band called the Gypsy Queens. I don't know. Have you ever heard of those?
Yes.
He plays sax for them now. So he's all over the world. One minute he's in the Bahamas, the next minute he's in Monaco, then he's in Tokyo. So, it's nice to see people that you work with or who's worked with you. I mean, they came straight out of music college to work with us.
Right.
And now he's touring the world and playing gigs to like Elton John and, just having a great life. And it's fab to see that.
Yeah.
It's really fab to see that.
It's fantastic. I mean, you guys really do seem like a team, like a family. It's cheesy to say family, isn't it? But you kind of are, because I imagine when you guys are touring, you're spending a lot of time together. So it's good that you can get along with each other and you can respect each other.
That's right. I mean, when we just did 4 nights in Scotland, and we stayed over for 3 of those nights. And on the 3rd night in Aberdeen, we all went out and got drunk, and we were out till 4 in the morning and just having a laugh and a joke and just having fun. And you've got to get on with each other, and you've got to have. I mean, I don't play an instrument, I don't read music, but I've got so much respect for the guys that work for me that do it, and I look to them for a lot of guidance, because I'll say, look, I think we should try this musically, and will this work? And they make it work for me. And I make no bones about it. I go, look, I don't know if it's going to work musically, and but can we do it? Is there something we can do to change from that to that? And can we do that? And one of the 2 guys in the band that are brilliant at that. One is John, who you've already mentioned, a guitarist, and the other one is the trumpet player Danny, who is phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. So he's just done something for us. The start of the most. Did you notice we don't do Peter Gunn?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And again, every man and his dog in a Blues Brothers show, everyone without fail opens with Peter Gunn, and we've not opened with Peter Gunn for probably 3 years now. But what we're going to do, because of the new mission, the Motown mission, is we've done an arrangement of Peter Gunn that just nips into a couple of Motown songs that fit and comes back out and then back into Peter Gunn. So it just gives people a sort of taste. This is what's coming.
Yeah, which is so exciting.
Do you know something? It's a passion. It's a real passion for me. I've spent weeks and weeks working on set lists and strong song structures and arrangements. And, we're just at the stage now where we're about to start running some of the songs and just see if they work. And it's just, when you put something together. So like for the start of Peter Gunn, we're going to start it off with the stabs from My Girl. So the bass line.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It will just fit straight into Peter Gunn.
Yeah.
But the first notes people will hear will be the opening stabs, the opening bass stabs from the song My Girl, which is, I don't care, what sort of music you like, everybody in the world will recognise that straight away. Mm-hmm. But then it will switch into Peter Gunn.
Yeah.
And it's just to say, look, this is a taste of what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's a clever way to do it. I do the same myself for songs that I can't necessarily play the entire song, so I will just throw a few stabs in, and then people will think, "Oh, that was cool," but then they don't really expect you to finish it, which is good because I can't really play the whole thing, that kind of thing.
Do you know what used to be one of the most asked for songs in our show?
No.
If you have a guess, and if you get it right, I'll give you some free tickets to Bristol.
Ooh.
Have a guess of the one song that is the most requested song, and we don't do it at the minute. We did it last year, but we don't do it this year. If you can guess it, free tickets for Bristol.
See, it's gonna be when you tell me, it's gonna be one of my favorites that I no doubt noticed you didn't do at the time. I'm sure that's there's a lot on the table here. The most requested. What do you think? I just want to think it through. I don't want to just jump the gun. You played Sweet Home Chicago, so it's not that.
No, I'm gonna get. It's not in any of the films. That's a clue. It's not in any of the films.
And it's the most requested.
And it's one of the most requested song that we get asked to do, and it's not in either film. It's an album track.
Flip, Flop, and Fly by the Downchild Blues Band.
No, we do that.
Oh, you did it while I was there. Oh, Lees, you moron.
Yeah.
You see, the pressure of
Listen,
quizzes gets to me.
I'm gonna give you some free tickets for Bristol anyway, but it's Rubber Biscuit.
Oh, Rubber Biscuit.
That is the most requested song.
How strange.
After the show, when we meet people, we didn't do Rubber Biscuit, did it? So last year, we didn't want to do the full song. So we kept like, you want to do a song, Elwood man? Yeah, sure. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he'd do a little bit of Rubber Biscuit, and I'd stop it. Whoa, 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 whoa. We're not doing that song, And then we'd go do something else, and then later on he'd go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he'd do another little bit, like whoa, 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 whoa.
Nice.
So, but people thought that nobody asked for it then, because people thought they'd heard it, even though he'd only done a verse and a chorus.
Yeah.
And I'd stopped him, but people thought, they've done Rubber Biscuit. But again, unless you're a hardcore Blues Brothers fan, you wouldn't have a clue why Rubber Biscuit was being sang, because it's a really obscure album track.
Yeah, it is. I once saw the aforementioned Downchild's Blues Band in Ontario, Canada. They played for like 3 hours. I want to say it was like their 40th anniversary tour or 50th anniversary tour. And that's kind of deep cut Blues Brothers stuff, because what a band they were too. I don't know if you've ever seen them yourself, but
no, I'm not.
They were on fire. It's just, and then when you hear them do the Blues Brothers songs, you're like, that's so cool, because that was what inspired the Blues Brothers to do that song, And they're Canadian, so we can not stop harping on Bieber and respect some Canadians, because they are Canadian, right?
Yeah, respect him. I'm really into Joe Bonamassa at the minute.
Yeah, I
love the way Bonamassa takes, the old songs, and especially the old BB King songs, and just brings them up to date, and just puts a load of meat around them and makes them contemporary and current. And that's a couple of the previous guitarist that we had was a guy called JP Level, phenomenal guitarist and a big Bonamassa fan. And he brought some great ideas to the show.
Yeah. And
some great playing to the show as well. And, real great guitar solos. But, it's, I think to in any kind of music, you've got to try and put your own little steer on it where you can.
Of course, yeah, because nobody wants to hear. If I want to hear the CD, you can put the CD on, right? When it's live music, you want to hear the little tickles and the little play arounds and the you want to hear that stuff. So when you guys stop in the middle of a song and yourself, Jake, tells somebody to sort her husband's dance moves out, it's one of those things where it's fun to watch live, and that's the kind of thing doesn't come across in a live album. You have to be there to watch it, to see those little moments of you pulling faces of people in the crowd, or things like that.
It's such a pleasure to do it, mate, and I'm really, it sounds like we give you a really good experience, and it's so lovely to hear that we made a little bit of an impact on you for that evening. And
oh no, I don't want to keep harping over on it, because ever since having chemo for those many months, I'm very emotional these days. But I had a fucking great time at that show. I had so much fun that I would have seen it if you guys would have gone, we're gonna take a drink and do the whole show again. I would have stayed and watched it again.
Really?
And I'm not saying that just because you're on the thing with me. I genuinely mean that. Longtime listeners will know I don't blow smoke. I don't talk bullshit. I have a terrible attitude. But I would have watched it over again. I would have gone, Rachel, which is my wife, we have to stay. They're going to do the show again. Because it was.
Oh, that's great.
So if they're near you, you have to go, ladies and gentlemen. You have to see them.
I think when we play Bristol, you need to come early. And I think we need to get you come to the sound check and just hang out with us a little bit before the show and play some stuff on stage. I don't know if you've ever been to the Bristol Hippodrome, but It's an absolutely iconic venue. It is amazing. It's one of my favourite venues to play. It's a proper old worldy English theatre, but it's just. Google it, get a picture of it, have a look at it.
I will.
It's fab, and the crowd in Bristol are fab. So yeah, come down and have a jam with us.
Definitely
pre-show.
Definitely. I mean, it's that, that's really great of you. I will definitely be there. And I do find inspiration from yourselves as well, because after seeing your show, I added green onions to my own set. In as much as, and this isn't as much as loops or backing tracks,
No.
but things where I'm now using a backing version of Green Onions with drums and bass, but I play the keyboards into a loop pedal so that so that will loop for me. And then I add a little bit of guitar, and then that's when I'm going to do my "We're so glad to see so many people here tonight," So that's an inspiration I took from yourselves, as well as Minnie the Moocher. I found a really great backing track of Minnie the Moocher, because I used to just sort of lazily strum chords for it. But I found one that it's a full band, and there's no background tracks on the hi. So I've added that to the set as well.
People love it. People love to be entertained, and they love to get involved. They love to dance. They love to sing along. They love to feel part of the show, and that's what we try and do. And that, another thing that we do, which I don't think a lot of shows do, is we actually go out at the end of the show and meet people and have a chat to them, and obviously we met yourself. So it's just...
Yeah. I mean, you guys were mobbed, too. I've done Comic-Cons where celebrities haven't had a crowd that big fighting to get pictures. And no joke, people were all over you. They're like, I'm getting my picture next. You gonna move back because it's my turn.
But again, do you know something, mate? We come off stage, we meet the people. It's a real pleasure to do that. And then we get changed. And I'll tell you, we just get on with his lives. I mean, last year when we played the O2 in London, I got up in the morning, took the dog out for a walk, picked its dog shit up, right?
Yeah.
went to the local supermarket, dressed like a tramp because I'd literally just got up, got some bits, put them in the fridge, got ready, drove to London, played the O2, had a phenomenal night at the O2, drove back home the same night. The morning after, I'm back picking dog shit up. And I think, and that's just, I appreciate, what I'm trying to say is I appreciate everybody that takes their time to speak to me or Gareth or the band. And, especially, people like yourself who do something like this with us, just appreciate it, because we don't take any of it for granted.
And it's crystal clear. I mean, there's passion in your voice when you tell stories. I mean, I've done radio and interviews for a long time, and I've heard a lot of people blow smoke in my ear, giving scripted, yes, I love the project, that it's just great to do. But you guys are passionate, and it's crystal clear with that.
There's too much. There's a lot of bullshit out there. I mean, don't get me wrong, mate. We have some cracking gigs. We have, and you have some nights that are not, you don't feel they're as good as they can be, or you might have had a bad day and you go out there and you feel personally you could have given a bit more, but we don't tend to get any bad feedback really, and we don't tend to get any bad negative comments, and people seem to enjoy what we do, so we just try and keep that formula going. Yeah,
which is the best way forward. I mean, there's nothing to be upset about in your performance from my point of view.
Thank you.
There's nothing anyone could be like, well, I didn't like that they did that song, because the blues are so infectious, that people love it. Everyone seems to enjoy the blues. I mean, I still remember the first time I ever heard the blues, not being young and not really knowing what that was other than the Blues Brothers movie, not really realizing it was a genre unto itself, if that makes sense. And I remember the first time and again, this is the kind of guy I am. I met you guys and I was like, they need to podcast. I need to talk with them. I heard the first guy ever playing a guitar solo with the blues. Within about 3 months, he was in a band with me. And he was playing a Stevie Ray Vaughan song. And it was the first time I had ever heard that bum, 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 and the band coming in on the one there. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I had goosebumps and my hair stood up. And I just watched these guys play a blues set. And I thought, I want to play the blues. And that was when it hit me that it was, the blues, that it was their own, it was a genre. They didn't just invent those songs. It sounds naive looking back now, but we're all naive when we're young, I guess.
I mean, if you listen to the original version of Everybody Needs Somebody to Love, it's so slow and so laboured. And you know what Belushi and Aykroyd and the Blues Brothers band did with it is just turn it from a really sort of nondescript song to this anthem, and we can hear it on stage. As soon as that song starts, you hear the crowd react to it wherever you go. There's certain songs in the show that people just react to straight away.
Yeah.
Rawhide's another one. People love Rawhide, and you know we've mixed that in this year with Ghost Riders, and we've put the little cantina horn section bit in. That was one of the trombone players who played with us a couple of years ago that came up with that idea. But it's just a real pleasure to do it.
Yeah, it's again we've harped on it. It's so much fun, and I'm very happy that there are people out there still playing real music and really enjoying the craft. It makes a grumpy curmudgeon musician like me not lose hope as much. And it really did give me a lot of inspiration for this charity show in August, because I was like, those guys are up there having fun. I should just have fun. Forget about these are my good songs. Those are the ones that aren't so good, and people aren't going to be listening to me anyway. And what if forget all that. You guys showed me just go up there and have fun, which is why I'm now willing to open with Green Onions, which is something I would never, ever do. I'd never use a backing track. I'd never play the keyboard, because keyboard for me I'm not a fantastic keyboard player. I play it in my house, But seeing your show showed me that confidence of like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. It's going to be fun, and there's nobody else up there doing it at the same time, so it's going to be one of those confidence things,
John does a good job on that on guitar as well, because the idea it's always been the same sort of philosophy with the band, that Chicago Blues Brothers is not just about the Jake and Elwood characters. If you've got a phenomenal guitarist, keyboard player, trumpet player, they need to be able to show what they can do, and we try wherever we can bring those guys forward and say, you have a listen to this girl sing, listen to this girl's voice, or listen to this guy play trumpet, or listen to this guy play sax. I mean, we try and build into the show lots of little moments for those guys to shine, because I think you'd have to be really. I know of another Blues Brothers band that they're still trying to work out there, but they're not doing anything. That at one point they were massive. They were a really big Blues Brothers show, but the philosophy behind the band was, it's about me and Elwood. Don't move. Don't step forward. Just stay where you are. Don't move. And I'm thinking, why would you do that to phenomenal musicians?
Yeah, exactly.
Why, such a selfish attitude and it's arrogance. But that particular show manufactured their own downfall, and that's why they are now singing in pubs to backing tracks.
Yeah, it's lessons you need to learn, man. I mean, when I was young, 17, I had a couple of songs I had written, and I had a few different people tell me that was a really good song. That's the worst thing you can say to a 17-year-old. So then it immediately became, I wanted musicians to just stand behind me and play these apparently remarkable songs that I had written. Because again, I'm a 17-year-old kid, right? It wasn't until I was able to sort of let go a little bit and start playing around that I was in what I would call the best band I was in. It was called the Matt Lee's band, so I dropped my ego thing there a little bit. But that was only because we played my originals, and it was gigs that I had booked that they just kind of joined me on.
Yeah.
But once I let them sort of, because they were phenomenal. I mean, my guitar player, one of the best guitar players I've ever heard, also a guitar teacher. My drummer was a sound engineer. My bass player was a music teacher. So they didn't need me to teach them how to play my songs, if you know what I mean. And once I learned how to just back off and let them enjoy it, the band became tenfold better. We have a specific original song, blues song, called Maybe I'm Not Leaving, But Baby I'm Leaving You. And I wrote it as like a really old school, slow on the acoustic, and maybe I'm not leaving, very slow and sad. And my guitar player heard it once and went, I like the song, but can we put some nuts on it? Like, can we put some fucking balls on it? And I was like, sure. And I'll send you a link to the song. It sounds nothing like my original version, but he is screaming on the guitars, and it became a rockin' heavy blues song. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that never would have happened if I wouldn't have gone, all right, Jay, I'm in your hands. Because like you were saying, he's the guitar player. Let go of the reins and be like, bro, I hired you to be a guitar player. Play the guitar. Like, do what you do. That's what that's why you're here. So it's great. There's no egos in your band.
Yeah, we don't allow egos. We don't want any pricks in the band, because people who come with people. We advertised for a bass player this year, and we had 75 people apply for the job. Right, this is purely through social media. 75 people applied to be the bass player with us, and there were some really, really good, talented people out there. But those people, some of those people, not all of them, but some of those people, they come with an expectation, they come with an attitude, they come with, well, I've done this and I've done that. So I much prefer to have a slightly lesser player, but a better person who is willing to learn and willing, so we can not mold them or craft them, because, you know, we don't do that, but just somebody who's going to fit into the jigsaw of the band, rather than, oh, we've got this guy and he's the best bass player in the world and he's done this and he's done that. Because 9 times out of 10, those people don't fit in your model, because they just come with so many preconceived ideas, and I don't want that in the band. I'd rather have a team of people that I like and I get on with, and that we can, you know, I'm not afraid to say, look, I want this to happen, but I don't know how to make it happen. Help me out, and they're all great at it.
Yeah, it's a team. Like we said, it is. If folks at home, if you have never been in a band, it's like a marriage. It's like a team, and every piece is important. So it's so vitally. I mean, your bass player, your present bass player. Remind me of his name.
Alex.
He fits right in. I mean, you look at the group on stage and you go, that's the Blues Brothers band. That's cool. You know, they fit. And it was fun for me to watch, because John was trying to get him. I don't know whether he's a bit more reserved, isn't he? And the bass is a lot harder to play. So it's, you know, you can't be jiving when you're playing the bass. But I remember watching John a couple times, kind of sort of nudging him, again, like the puppy in the cage, going, come on, man, play with me. And he kind of smirk and so much fun. I described John as if Steve Guttenberg was your guitar player, because, really? And I mean that respectfully. I mean that with you know, in a positive way, as in funny, had a lot of fun, infectious, fit right in with the band. It was really, really, really cool. So I'm very glad for you as a musician that you found such a tight blues band, because let's face it, you couldn't pull this off without it.
No.
And you can't have the egos, because, again, with respect, it is not about any of the dudes on the stage, right? No. It's not about John and Chris. You know, it's about Jake and Elwood and the Blues Brothers band. So for that 2 hours, people need to be watching the Blues Brothers band. You know, not the guitar player that doesn't fit in, or the trumpet player who doesn't fit in.
You see, there's a lot of little in-jokes and stuff on stage, and there's a lot of things said on stage that the crowd can't hear. And there's a lot of little, you know, these are things that will go in the book. You know, there's things that go on stage that people can't hear. There's things that Gareth say to me, tries to make me laugh all the time. Yeah. So, you know, it's silly things like, let me give you an example. The drummer who drummed on Cardiff is a guy called Kyle. So we had a conversation with him one day, and we said, like, what do you do through? Because he doesn't work. He's a professional drummer. Right. So that's totally, you know, that's what he does. He says, what have you done this week then, mate? Have you done anything good? He went, oh, I've just watched a load of box sets. I said, is that all you do? Watch fucking box sets? He goes, no, well, yeah. So Boxcar Blues then became Box Set Blues. Yeah. So we're making up then words to Box Set Blues. So we're going, I got a 10-season Game of Thrones and a 6-pack full of Corona. And we're singing all this, but then because we were doing it all day, Gareth forgot the actual words to the song. Oh, it's a nightmare. It happens to me so much. Yeah, so pissing about, doing, you know, saying stupid things to each other. And then I had a little bit of, in Sweet Home Chicago, and I go, 1 and 1 is 2, 8 and 2 is 10. She's done it before, you know, she's going to do it again. And I just for some reason, I'd got a mental block on the second bit. So I'm going, 1 and 1 is 2, 7 and 5 is 10. I was singing the wrong words. Yeah. So when that bit was coming up, Gareth would stand back from the mic and he'd start sort of saying to me, 5, 6, 8, 9, trying to put me off deliberately. Yeah. You know, and that's why you'll see people laughing and having fun. You know, the guy who plays trombone, Patrick, somebody says, have you ever heard of a game called Guess Who, Matt? Yes. So the game called Guess Who, somebody said to us, he looks like Richard from Guess Who. So we started introducing him as Richard from his name's not Richard, his name's Patrick, but he wasn't in on the joke. Everyone in the band had seen this picture of Richard from Guess Who, and he looked the spit. So, ladies and gentlemen, on the trombone tonight, it's Richard. And he looked at me and said, "Who the fuck's Richard?"
Yeah.
But all the band start laughing. So that sort of thing sort of helps to create the fun and the energy and the atmosphere on stage.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, we don't let a paying audience get in the way of our fun. We've got to have fun. Otherwise, there's no point doing it.
Yeah, because if you're not having fun, the crowd's not having fun. And it's something that's very
Correct.
important. And I mean, again, in hindsight, looking back at a lot of my earlier performances, I was a log on the stage, man, because I was still kind of nervous, even though I wasn't nervous, if that makes sense. And I would just kind of stand still and sing into the mic. And when you hear, like, the track I'll send you, you know, you got a band around me going crazy and having a great time. And I'm just standing in like a tree. When I see old pictures of myself, I'm like, you got to loosen up, man. Have some fun, you know. Jiggle your hips a little bit. Who cares? But you're young, and, you know, when that kind of stuff goes down like that, you know. We used to do Sweet Home Chicago, where we used to medley. We'd start with Pride and Joy and finish in Sweet Home Chicago, which the band used to hate because obviously the rhythm changes a little bit. It's not exactly the same blues song. So they'd always end up going, "Fuck's sake, Lees, it's not the same song." But I would just start singing Sweet Home Chicago. So in the middle of Pride and Joy, during the solo, I would then go, "Well, 101 is 2." And I just see the drummer going, "Cock, what an asshole." Because they'd have to change songs right in the middle. But I was very afraid of math, so I used to do that a lot, like you said. I'd do the 1 is what? 2? And then 2 and 2 is 4. Because I'd be too afraid to say the wrong words and say the wrong math. And have my buddies go, "You can't do math."
Mate, it happens all the time. We all get mental blocks. We all get little things that throw us. And, you know, sometimes somebody will be doing something in the audience and that'll throw you, or, you know, we have a guy that comes to watch us called Jason Gin, and he follows us all over. And we played Clacton, and Gareth took a water pistol. So when he went out to do the Elwood Cam in Flip Flop and Fly, he got Jason out from where he was sitting, shot him in the face with this water pistol. But all the band are pissing themselves laughing because they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
I bet the crowd thought, "What the fuck are those guys doing?" What? Yeah. You know, he just, you know, he's picked a random guy out of the audience and shot him with a water pistol and filmed it and put it on social media. But, you know, we've got some great people that follow the band, and, you know, they'll come, and every so often we'll say, "Look, don't buy any tickets. The tickets are on us," because you know we do appreciate the support we get from people, so we do try and look after them. Yeah,
and then I mean that probably made his day to be included that way, you know. I mean, hell, a moment like that is how I got involved in wrestling at all, because I used to basically go to the shows and shout at all the bad guys because, you know, being born in the UK, I would see it as like a panto, you know. So the bad guy would come out and I'd go, "Boo!" and everyone around me would boo. And after a few months of going, you know, you start to kind of get to know the guys in as much as they recognize you. So I'm outside the one time and I see one of the heels, one of the bad guys, and he says, "Hey, are you cool?" Which I later learned he meant, "Are you kind of in the know?" As in, "Do you know this is entertainment?" And I kind of said, yeah, I'm cool. He's like, "All right, look, I might include you in a little something later. Is that all right?" I was like, "Yeah, feel free." So then I'm sitting with about 7 of my buddies, none of which know this has occurred, and I still don't know what's happening. I've got a glass of water, a cup of water in my hand, and this bad guy comes out, walks right in front of us. We're in the front row, and we're booing him, and he grabs my water, takes a sip out of it, and pours the rest over my head. And all my friends were like, "Oh, shit, what's happening?" And, of course, I'm cool with it because now I knew what he meant by, "Are you cool, man?" But it was such a great moment. And then, of course, after the show, it's, "Hey, man, I'm sorry I poured that water on you." And me being the guy who was a sound engineer, I was cheeky enough to go, "You need to work out that PA system because your music sounds like shit." And they said,
"Really?
If you know how to do better, why don't you do it?" So I said earlier about depending on who didn't show up for work that week. The next week, I'm the sound guy running the board for the music show, you know, because I was cheeky enough to go sort that PA system. It wasn't in as much as, "Hey, man, let me fix that." It was, you got to get somebody to fix that PA because the overall performance is so important to it. I ended up spending years with that company just by being cheeky, basically.
Look beats talent. You've got to be cheeky. You have got to be cheeky, and you've got to put yourself forward for things like that, and you've got to just take your moment and take your chance. Otherwise, you know, you hear it all the time where people say, "Oh, you know, especially on these talent programs, this is my last chance, and it's just bollocks, you know. I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's autobiography on holiday, and you know that guy got knocked back so many times. He got knocked back because of his accent. He got knocked back because of his muscles. Mm-hmm. He got knocked back because of his acting, and you know he went from living in a small Austrian village to being the governor of California and a mega, you know, all action hero movie star, because he wouldn't know to him meant yes. You've just got to take your chance and get on with it and crack on with it and go for it.
Don't ask, don't get, you know?
No. I mean, well, I've run out of time, Matt.
Okay. Hey, no problem. Look, I'm sorry I kept you so long. I just had so much fun chatting with you.
No, it's been great, you know, and any time, and, you know, really remind me about the Bristol, sorry, not the Bristol thing, remind me about the charity thing. Yes. And I'll actually, you know, if you need me to donate something towards it to raffle off, I'm happy to do that. And I'd love to see you in Bristol as well. Yeah, no, I will be there. You've got it. Thank you so much. Take care. I will speak with you soon. I'm going to hold you to your word about doing this again because I had a great time. Cheers, Matt. All the best, mate. Take care. Bye now. All right, there you have it. Me and Jake Blues, thebluesbrothers.co.uk for upcoming tour dates near you. Don't forget, justgiving.co.uk/fundraising/Matt Lee's Music if you want to help us out for our Matt Lee's versus music coming up August 31st in Pontypool. That's it. Have a great time. See you next time. Bye-bye.